If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell so you never miss out when I upload a brand new video. So let's just go ahead and make that folder right now. So we can go back into Studio, back into our main script. In fact, what we're going to do, we're going to create another script just to keep our data saving and our remote events function scripting separate. We're going to create another script and we're going to call this script saving. Okay, and in this script we're just going to quickly create a player added script which looks like this, and inside of this what's going to happen is we're going to create a folder in their player, in player tools, and we can later on in the tutorial we'll script it so that it can save and load their data. So what we're just going to do is we're going to create a folder by saying local player tools folder equals instance.new folder, and then we can say game. It's going to go into game.server-storage. In fact, what we're going to do, we're just going to end it there. Then we can say player tools folder.name equals player.name, and we can say player tools folder.parent equals game.server-storage.player tools. And now if we go and play the game, a folder for us should be created in player tools. So let's go check it out. There we go, we've got our folder. So if we try and run the open shop event, hopefully, there we go, you can see that the script which we just did earlier, we just zoom in here, you can see that it has printed out all 5 values from the table. So it's looked in the tool models, it's looked in the information, it's got the cost of 550 and it's printed that out. It's printed it out in order, so we've got the title first, we've got the description, then we've got how much it costs, and then we've got the cost type, and then we've got our false value. So that tells us that we haven't bought the item yet, which is true because it's not in our player models. So you can see we've been able to loop over the table here. We've been able to loop over it, and we're printing each value from that table. So all the variables are together. So what we're going to do now is we're going to update our GUI elements with this data. So what we can do is we can start off with the title, and we can say title.text, because don't forget we defined a variable for our title. We say title.text equals data, and then in square brackets 1. Okay, so this is the first element, or first object in our table, which we said was going to be the title text, because we put the title at position 1. So the title will be the first index of data, and we're just getting that. We also need to convert it to a string, so we need to say toString and put brackets around it, like that. So now it's a string and it can go in the text field. Now that we've done that, we can do the exact same thing by copying and pasting it for the description. We can say description.text equals data 2, because it's the second index, and we said in the server script that the description would come second. And what we want to do now is we want to check to see if it's bought or not, right? So we need to say if data 5, remember that's the true or false value, whether it's bought or not, equals false. So if it's equal to false, then we know that they haven't bought it yet. So we need to set the text of the buy button to how much this item costs. So we can say buy.text, because remember we've got a variable called buy. Buy.text equals, and then we're going to have a $sign in quote marks, and then we can do double dot to concatenate the string with how much it costs. So we can't set the value with a $sign because it's an integer, and we can't have a string character with an integer. So we put our $sign as a string, and then we use the 2 dots to concatenate it with a number. And that number is going to be data, or it's going to be toString because we are combining it to a string. And we can say data 3 because the third index in our script was the cost. So we're going to have the $sign, whoops, and then the cost. So else, so if it has been bought, we need to see whether it's equipped or not. Okay, so what we can do is we're going to insert a value in the player called equipped, and that value is going to be updated whenever a tool which we own gets equipped. So whenever we click the equip button, the equipped value is going to be updated, and then we can check to see if the tool which we're working on at the minute is already equipped, and if it is, then we will say unequip. But if we know it isn't equipped, we can set the text to say equip. So it's a bit like an on-off system to toggle the equipping of a tool. So we're going to go into our server script now and just have a look and see if we can do that. So let's head into the server script called saving. And we're going to want to create this value called equipped. Now it's very simple. We just need to say local equipped equals instance.new. So we're creating a new object here. We're giving it the class name of a string value because we're updating this value with the name of the tool that is currently equipped. And now we're going to give it a name. So we can say equipped.name equals, equipped with a capital E. And we're not going to set a value because when they join the game, no tools are going to be equipped. So now if we head back into the local script here, and we go back, what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if the tool is equipped or not. So we can say if player.equipped.value is equal or double equals, so if it is equal to model.name, then if the model that we're currently working with is currently set to the equipped value, we know that the player has it equipped and they're using it at the moment. So we can set the by text to say equipped. But if it's not the equipped value, we know that it's not equipped. So we can say by.text equals equip, so that when they click the button, instead of buying it, they'll be equipping the item instead. And we'll work on that later on when we script the buy button. And that is all we need to do for the initiate shop event. So this is what we just worked on. We've defined a variable for our current box value and we've set it to 0 because when the shop opens up, the camera will be pointing to the first box, which is called box 0. We're setting the back button to be the disabled colour so that it looks greyish, and the forward colour will be the enabled colour, which we defined up here. And then we're creating a variable called model, which we're setting to nil because over here we're looping through everything inside our box, which we're currently on. We're checking to see if the object inside of the box is a model, and if it is, we know that we found our tool object, and we can use this model to set our model name value, okay, which is in the shop frame here, which we'll use later on. Then, so this for loop is basically getting the name of the tool from the specific box. So it's getting the corresponding tool to the box. And then we're getting the data for that specific tool by using a remote function to get the information and send it back so that it can't be exploited by a hacker because it's taking place on the server and the client can't interact with the server. We're then just looping through the data to print it out so we can see that everything went okay. And then we're setting the title text, the description text, and the buy button text to whatever that data is. So we're setting the title, we're setting the description, and then we're seeing if the item has been bought or not. And if it is, then we're setting the buy button text. So that's what we've done for the initiate shop event. And now what should happen is if we try this out, I think the GUI might hold some data. Let's go and just zoom out from the input here, the output, sorry. Let's fire the event, and you can see what's happened is we've got the superpower drill, which is the title. We've got the description. You can see the back button is sort of darkened out, and the forward button is looking good. See that it's looking like a proper user interface where we can click it, and you can see that the buy button has got the price of the item as its text. So it doesn't work yet, none of the buttons actually work, but you can see we're making some good progress towards the end. And I'm not too sure why there are two tools in the box. I'll have a look and see if we can sort that out. Aha, so I think I accidentally left a copy of a superpower drill in box 0 from earlier when I was showing you. Yep, there we go. When I was showing how it's going to work. So if we go into item roller and box 0 and I delete the superpower drill, we should be good to go with the next part. Let's just test it again. Now let's just go and have a behind the scenes look here. Now, if we weren't a player, if we weren't currently in the shop, this is what it would look like. So we've got our backdrop here, and we've got our 4 boxes which have been generated. Now each box has got the tool inside of it because we set the primary part C-frame of each tool. And what's happening is when we fire the event, I'm just going to fire it in the command bar. It fades, the camera position is set to that box, and the GUI is just added in. So it's a bit of an illusion because your camera is being set there, and you can see we can walk into the box. So our player is still in the game. It's just that the backdrop and everything else will be in another part of the game world, and we can cut to it. So there we go. Okay. So I think now is a good time to switch from the client side coding to the server side. Now we've done a lot to do with the camera and the GUI, and we need to add some important values into our player when they join the game so that we can script the rest of this shop. So what we're going to do is we're going to head back into the saving script, and we're going to define a few more values to go inside the player. Now eventually we'll be working on data store, but we'll leave that towards the end. There are a few more important things we need to insert into the player. So at the top of the script, we're going to start off by inserting some leader stats. So we can say local leader stats equals instance.new, and then we're going to give a folder. Okay, I'm going to call this folder leaderstats.name equals leader stats, and it has to be spelt leader stats like this with a lowercase l, everything in lowercase for leader stats. Now that we've done that, we can insert our currency into these leader stats, and we can call it coins. So local coins or cash, we can call it cash if you want. Cash equals instance.new. We're going to insert an int value. We're going to call this cash value, so cash.name equals cash. And we're not going to give it a value. In fact, yeah, let's go on and give it a value for now. Let's give it a value of 5,000 cash. Although when we get onto the data store, we won't be giving it a value because it will be saving and loading the saved value. So now that we've done that, we need to create another value. So we can just copy this code for the cash and paste it in again. But this time we're going to call it in shop. Okay, so in shop. So a capital S for shop, everything else can be lowercase. So this is what it looks like. And then we're just going to call it in shop. Okay, now I've called my variable in shop with a lowercase I, but with a capital S, but that I've named it with an uppercase I and an uppercase S. So just be wary of that. That's what we're calling it. I guess I could change it to in shop. It really doesn't matter. But we're going to change in shop value to false, because this value is going to be used to see if the player is already in the shop looking at browsing items to buy. So when they join the game, they're obviously not going to be in the shop, so we can set this to false. Okay, so I think that is everything we need to do for now, all the values, so we can carry on with the rest of the scripting. So there's a few things left that we need to do. We need to script the back and forward buttons, which we're going to do now. We also need to script saving. We need to script the exit button, and we also need to script the transactions so that when a player actually clicks the buy button, we can check to see if they have enough money to buy the item, and if they don't, then we won't allow them to purchase the item. So what we're going to focus on now is the back button. So we're going to go into the back button, the image button in the shop frame, and we're going to insert a local script. Whoops, we inserted a localization table. We're going to insert a local script. So when we click this button, we are going to move the camera along to the previous item if there's one there. So the first thing we're going to do is declare a few variables first. So we're going to declare the GUI for the entire shop. So we're going to say local GUI equals script.parent.parent.parent. Now, we can use the GUI to help reference our other variables now. So we can say a local frame equals GUI.shopFrame. We can say local buy equals, in fact, we can just say GUI wait for child shop frame over here. We can say local buy equals frame wait for child buy. And then we can just copy this line of code for the title, description, and the forward button. So we can do title and just update the names that we had in the other variable, description, and just change the description, and don't forget the forward button. Now the variables I am writing in lowercase, but the actual names of the items have a capital letter, so make sure to be aware of that. So that's all the variables that we're going to need. And we're going to want to have a mouse button one click event, which looks like this. And any code inside of this event is going to run whenever the button has been clicked. So actually this is an image button, so we can actually use the activated event instead. So inside of this event, we're going to want to have the current box, which we're looking at. Right, so this is going to be whatever the current box value is set to. So we can say local, so box name is going to be script.parent.parent.parent.current box. Okay, so this is going to be our int value. So it's not really the name of the box, it's the number of the box. So it's 0 or 1, would say what if it's box 0 or box 1. So you get how it works. But the box that we want to move to, because when we click this button, the back button, we're moving backwards. So we're going the other way. So the local box to move to is going to be the box name dot value -1. So if we're at box 1, the box to move to is going to be box 0. If we're on box 500, the box to move to is going to be 499 because it's one previous than the current box. So we're going to have to actually check to see if there's a box to go to if we click the button, because obviously if we're at box 0, we can't go to box -1 because box 0 is the starting point. So we can say if game.workspace.itemRoller find first child, and then we can say box box to move to, then we know that there is a box for when we click the back button. So there's a box where we can go to. There's a box for us to move the camera to. So what we want to do is, now that we know that the button will actually work if we press it, because we can go to an item previous, we can make this button active. Okay, so we can change the color of the image. So we can say script.parent.color3, so image color 3 equals, and then we're going to want to have our disabled and enabled colors. So we can go back to our local script and just copy these variables and put them into our script. And we're going to want to set the image color 3 of our back button to the enabled button color, because if there is a box to move to, we know that the image, the back button is going to be enabled. So we want to set it from that darkened image to that bright image, telling the user that the button is able to be clicked. We're also going to want to do the same for the forward button, because of course if you're going back one, you're obviously going to be able to go forward to the one that you were on before. So we want to say forward.imageColor3 equals enabled button color. So they're both going to be enabled and they're both going to be able to be clicked. We're then going to want to interpolate the camera. Now if you were listening earlier, remember that interpolating the camera is smoothly moving it between 2 points. And we moved it between the same points, so there wasn't any animation, it just jumped to that point. However, this time we have 2 different points, the point that we're at now and the point of the next box which we're going to. So we want to interpolate the camera to the next box. So we can say game.workspace.currentCamera :interpolate. And then in brackets, we're giving the starter position, which is going to be the cam part of the box we're currently on. So we can say game.workspace.itemRoller. And in square brackets, we're going to say box box to move to cam part .cframe. So this is where we're going to. Okay, this is the box where the camera is going to be looking at. Okay, so this is the next box, because we've got box and then we're concatenating it with the number, which is the box to move to. So if the box name is 1, then box to move to is going to be 0. So it concatenates the 0 with the box to form box 0, which is the name of the box and the model, which has the cam part, which we're going to be interpolating to. So that's where we're going to. We also want to set this, we want to set the other camera position, which is going to be the item roller box to move to, which is the same thing. We can say game.workspace.itemRoller, and then we can say box box to move to cam part. So we need to close the square brackets. Cam part .cframe, and then we're going to give a time of 0.5. Actually, no. Interpolate is you don't have to specify where the camera is currently. You have to specify where you're going to first, and then you supply the focus of the camera, so what it's focusing on. So the camera's going to be moving to the new part, but we're going to stay focused on that part as well, so that the camera doesn't look at anything different. It just keeps looking in the orientation of that part. So we've kind of got a position to go to and an orientation. It's not 2 of the same parts. We're just using the same C-frame, one for the position and one for the rotation. So there we go, we've got our interpolate done, and I'm just going to zoom out so that you can read that. You might want to pause the video so that you can copy that down. So now let's carry on, let's continue with the rest of the back button. Now that we have tweened the camera, or interpolated the camera to the previous item, we want to update the box name. So we can say box name.value equals box name.value -1. So if we're on box 1, we'll now be on box 0. what we want to do is we want to do the exact same thing that we did in the local script, and that was getting the information in the initiate shop. We're getting the information about that specific object. So we can just copy all of this code, which we did earlier, copy it with Control C, and then we're going to want to, in fact, we don't want to copy all of it. We just want to copy the parts leading up to here. Okay, where we do the title text and the description text. So we're going to copy this code, and we're going to go back into the back button, and we're going to paste it into this if statement. And let's just make sure it's all indented. So we're going to select the data, select the code and indent it using tab. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to change a few things here. We haven't got item roller defined as a variable, so we can say local item roller equals game.workspace.item roller. We're also going to want to make sure that the frame is changed to, the shop frame is changed to frame, and we can also just define replicated storage up here. So local replicated storage equals game game get service replicated storage. Now I've spelt replicated storage with a lowercase r and an uppercase s. Okay, so now that we've done that, we just want to handle the part where we display the price of the item, because we're not going to handle the equipping here. We handle that with the initiate shop event. So we can say if data 5 equals false, then, and we're going to say buy dot text equals, and then a $, dot toString data 3. So data 5 is whether it's been bought or not. So if it hasn't been bought, then we want to display the price. Otherwise, we will display the equip/unequip messages, because they will already be there. Now, what we now want to do, we can now exit out of this if statement here, and we want to check to see if there is a previous box for the next one. So if we start off at box 2, if we start off at box 1 and we click on the back button, then we'll be at box 0. But we want to check to see whether we can go back another one to see whether we can change the color of the darkness of the button or the brightness for that user interface to show whether it's disabled or enabled. So what we can do outside of the if statement, we can say if game.workspace.itemRoller find first child, and then in brackets we can say box box to move to -1. And because remember, box to move to is already the current box name value -1, but what we're doing is we want to go another one, right? We want to go another one from what it's currently at. So we're kind of going back 2, but because it's already been minused, it's been negative, it's had 1 taken off it, we're just taking another one off it to check. So we can say there, and then we can say script.parent.imageColor3 equals, and then we can say the enabled button color. Else we can do the exact same thing, imageColor3 equals disabled button color. So if there is an item before the one that we're currently at, we can make the image color set to the enabled color, else we can make it the disabled color. So that is everything that we need to do for the back button. What we're going to do now is we're going to take this local script, copy it and paste it into the forward button. But there's a few changes which we need to make. What we're going to do is we're going to change the negative signs to a positive sign because we're going forward. So make sure that you change all of those, even at the bottom. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, at the bottom of, or near to the bottom of the script, just after the if statement, checking to see if data 5 is equal to false, we're going to say else, and then we're going to have another end here. And inside of this else statement, we're going to do script.parent.imageColor3 equals, and then we can just do our disabled button color, and we're going to set back. We're going to change forward up here where it says forward. We're going to copy it and just do a paste, and we're going to set back. Sorry, we're going to change forward to back, and we're going to change forward to back here, and then we can change back. So wherever it says forward, we can change to back here. So let's have a look. So we can do a find all forward, just to see if there's any forward in here. Nope. So just wherever there was a forward, change that to back. And then what we can do down here is say back.imageColor3 equals, and we can set that to enabled. So if there's nothing more, if there's no boxes left, we can't go forward anymore. We're going to make the back button enabled, and we're just changing forward to back because we're on the forward button, not the back button anymore. We're inverting it all. That's why we did the plus instead of the minus, and we're setting the back to the forward just to save some time so that we don't have to write this all out again, because it's pretty much the same thing, just with a few changes. So if we go and have a look now and play the game, it should work, although we might have a couple of issues, but hopefully not. So let's go ahead and run the event. Let's go and trigger it. Going to replicated storage, open shop. You can see that the back button is disabled because we're on box 0. And if we click the forward button, you can see that the camera tweens, but we have some issues. So it interpolates, but we have a few issues with the camera and where it's being positioned. So we'll go and sort those out now. Okay, so the reason for those black issues was because I said here, the first parameter in this interpolate function is the position. Okay, so the position of where you want the camera to be. The second one is the orientation of the camera, and we've accidentally pointed it to the cam part instead of the hitbox because we want it to be looking at the hitbox, which is the big box in the center of the box here. It's a big part in the center of the box, so we want it to be looking at this and not looking at the cam part, which caused a few issues with the orientation. C-frame of the cam part was looking into something which was black, which was hence why the camera went to that black screen. So if you go into the forward button and we change cam part to hitbox over here, but keep cam parts for the position part, and we go into the back button and do the same thing, and if we run the game, hopefully it should smoothly interpolate between the two boxes. So we've got our first one, we click on the forward button, and there we go. We get to see some smooth animation between the different products. And you can see when we get to the end of the list, the forward button turns to darkness, and you can see the back button does the same when we get to the front. And as we move, they change really well. So that's another part of the video done. We've got some really good progress now. We've got the currency system in, we've got the animation for the camera, we've got the boxes done, and there's only a few more things to go until we have our mining simulator shop complete.